When's the last time you and Michael spoke?
Oh, right around the pandemic.
Oh, so it's been a minute since you.
Yeah.
Is that the text exchange when he shot you a text May of 2020 and he said, "Hey, Scottie, I heard you're upset. Let me know when you have a minute to speak." Is that the last time you guys spoke?
Something like that.
Something like that. And did you actually call him? Like, did you guys talk or did you just text him?
No, I think we ended up speaking briefly.
Did it end up being good, the conversation?
Yeah, I guess good and final.
That's what it was. Good and final. Because of you or because of him?
Yeah. I don't want to pick because of who. It's just
Got it.
good and final.
What's more likely to happen? Me going to Carbone in the next 5 years. Carbone in Miami. I don't know what's your favorite restaurant. Let's say Flagler's in Palm Beach because it's closer to golf. Is it more likely of me seeing Michael and Barkley having dinner at Flagler's in Breakers, Palm Beach? Or is it more likely for me to see you and Michael having dinner in the next 5-10 years at Flagler's?
I don't know what kind of dream you be having. But,
What do you think, though? Which of those two is more likely to happen? There's a Vegas odds. Like, we're trying to bet some money here on this one.
I don't know. That's a tough one. I don't spend that much time in Florida, so I would probably say maybe highly likely, maybe Charles.
Over you.
Yeah.
Got it. It's that's wild. And would you say a big part of it is The Last Dance and how that was portrayed? Would you say that was it? Would you say, because I sit there and I watch, for me, Kobe. I had Kobe at one of our events, the late Kobe. I love Kobe. Kobe and I are 6 weeks apart, our birthdays, and
wow.
I watched him play. We had a relationship at the tail end of his, not even career, his life. And it was a great moment. And he said some stuff about Shaq, and then Shaq and I had a conversation together years later, and it was great. And my son, till today, he's met a lot of different people. His favorite athlete he likes to talk about is Shaq. Shaq is his, Dylan loves Shaq.
Yeah.
So, and then when you saw that one interview with Shaq and Kobe, they're sitting across from each other, right? That conversation that took place. And then you saw one with Magic and Isaiah. I don't know if you remember those interviews that they did like 10 years ago, something like that, 8 years ago, 10 years ago. It was great to see Shaq and Kobe together. It was great to see
it was awesome.
Isaiah and Magic together, where Isaiah got emotional and he got up and they hugged each other, and that whole thing with the two of them. Why is the tension so high with anything related to Michael? You and Michael, Barkley and Michael.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I just think that Michael is a very difficult person to deal with. I played with him for years, so I know that, when it's time for you to move in your direction, then go in your direction. Don't sit there and try to procrastinate or stretch it. That the relationship is not where it was or not what it used to be, and it's never going to be the same. So why try and make something out of nothing, or try to make something that was never there? So,
yeah.
Great teammate, but we just never were great friends.
Never, even when you guys played.
No.
So when you guys were at the Dream Team, that one clip when Ahmad Rashad asks and says, you know which one I'm talking about, when Ahmad says, "Hey, Michael, question for you. 3 seconds left, fourth quarter. Who do you want to get the ball to go shoot whatever?" And he says, "Me." You know which clip I'm talking about? He says, Ahmad Rashad, and he says,
"Yeah,
no, you." He says, "Yeah, what kind of a question is that?" And then you guys are getting off the bus. He says, "Scott, this is the one right here. I don't play the clip. Actually, you know what? You may be able to play the clip. Yeah, play the clip here." Do we have audio or no, Rocks? I can't hear that. Back up a little bit.
Dumb question. Who would take the last shot?
Me.
That's a dumb question.
Me.
So, and then if you want to pause it, and this is, I think it's the right moment while you guys are getting off the bus and saying, "Where's Scottie? We got to go play golf. Where's Scottie?" I think he's having that conversation. Did you guys golf a lot together or no?
Never.
You guys never golf.
No.
So who was he talking about to go golf with him, Rob? Wow, you guys never golfed together.
No.
So when you guys played together, how often was it for you guys to have dinner together?
I mean, we may have like a pregame meal or something like that, but it's always a big party of people.
How many times did just you and Michael have dinner in Chicago? Chicago has a lot of great. Scottie, stop it. Scottie, stop it.
Never.
You and Michael never had dinner together one-on-one?
No. Never.
Michael's house just sold, the one in Chicago,
Yeah.
right? I think it sold for like $9.6 million or some number like that, if I'm not mistaken. We like the house. We were interested, but possibly doing something with that because the history in it. How often did you guys hang out in that house, go shooting, basketball, talking, mentally getting ready for the playoffs?
I never shot basketball there. I actually would go over in the morning when Grover was training. We would train together.
Scottie, can you get the mic a little bit closer?
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I was actually, I would train with Michael. I guess the last 3 championships that we won, we trained together at his house. But other than that, we didn't really put a lot of time in away from basketball. Most of our time was spent, whether we were working out or on the practice floor.
That's so wild to me because, that feedback was given sometimes about Kobe. That Kobe wasn't a guy that hung out with his teammates. First run that he had. And then Phil, the story about Phil brings Michael in and he says, "Hey, Michael, I want you to meet Kobe." And Kobe says, "I'd beat you one-on-one if we played one-on-one," right? That exchange. And then Kobe eventually, you can tell, him and Pau became best of buddies, brothers, family. You see Pau with Vanessa, with family. It's emotional, all of that stuff. Wow. That's hard to believe, Scottie. Would you say he was such a... Oh, man, that's... Because sometimes when a guy is such an alpha at the highest level, the idea sometimes to lead your guys is be close enough to influence, but far enough to not make them too comfortable with you. The Prince Machiavelli talks about that. A lot of leaders talk about that, and it doesn't make sense to the average. It's kind of like, what are you talking about? It's go build a relationship, go build a bond, et cetera, et cetera. Some guys go that route. I wonder how much of that was more from his analysis of, listen, I'm above, I'm the leader, I'm the head guy here, and he didn't want to get too close to his guys. Especially if you're saying you guys never had dinner together, Scottie?
No.
And you never golfed because you weren't a golfer?
Are
you a decent golfer?
I think a little bit of both. I'm decent,
Okay.
but I didn't really care for the game much when I played.
When season ended and it's off season, how often did you guys hang out in off season?
0.
Who was your guy? Was it more Horace? You and Dennis? You and
Probably
BJ
more
Armstrong
Horse when I was there. I was probably more Horse.
Who was close to Michael on the team? Him and BJ were close. I mean, when he came back to that one practice when BJ and him speaking and saying, "Hey, come and shoot a little bit."
I don't know about that one, but if you say so.
Well, no, listen, if I'm saying it, I'm just saying it because
Yeah.
I read about it. I don't know if I have the credibility of having been there. I just read about it.
Yeah. I mean, there were times when guys that were brought in that kind of bonded with Michael. Sam Vinson, Darrell Walker, but those were veteran players that had been around him probably previously, probably from college. But as far as players that he played with in the 90s, he didn't really bond with players on that team.
But I thought he was good friends with Oakley. I thought him and Oakley were very
Oakley wasn't on that team.
No, but Oakley from the beginning era when he was coming up. Wasn't Oakley one of his teammates when they got rid of him? He was upset about it because he liked Oakley and they had a friendship together.
Yeah, that's the story was told, but I don't know where that relationship is today.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know what that relationship is today, but I don't know which story it was when one time you guys are playing the Knicks and he says, hey, Oak, let's go have dinner together. Oh, this was part of his Hall of Fame speech, if I'm not mistaken, when Pat Riley said, was it Pat Riley? Was it Pop?
Pat didn't want the Knicks players hanging out with us.
Well, Pat ran it like a mob boss. Pat wasn't a regular, he was a, and then Michael's like, what do you mean? No, I can't because I'm with the Knicks. So, Pat Riley, Hall of Fame, the greatest respect you can have for great players to show them none. During the 1993 Eastern Conference Finals between the Knicks and the Chicago, Riley's comment was in response to Bulls' complaints about officiating. Go a little bit lower. Riley believed that players should be hardworking and disciplined. Riley's supposed to work with the Knicks who advanced 94 final. Riley is considered one of the greatest NBA figures of all time. He won 7 championships. Yeah, and he owns the patent on three-peat, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Who, Rob, who was Michael's best friend in the NBA?
I don't know. You got Charles Barkley.
While they played.
I don't know.
By the way, so we can, transition to the next story, but I'll tell you how I process this. And Scotty, whatever I say, please tear it apart. Don't just kind of let me get away with saying this here. Okay, I want you to tear it apart and say you have no clue what you're talking about. So there's no way a guy does what Michael did. The number of scoring titles, Finals MVP. One guy who was the MVP, Finals MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, and he's only 4 people have ever done that, and he's the only guy that's done it 4 times. The one that we all read about and we all see about. And a number of seasons, he played 82 games, and the phrase about the fact that I'm not going to miss a game because a father, maybe the only game he's bringing a son over to the game, that I'm going to go out there and give my best because I owe it to that father that brought his kid. And being a guy that was a sportsman, the face, taking it to different eras. There's something that he said at the end of The Last Dance. And I'm curious to know how you process this, because I don't know if anybody's asked you of this. Remember at the end when he gets emotional and he steps away and he says, look, if you can't understand me, that we did this and I wanted to win and I wanted to do this and da-da-da-da. And that was the only time that he got emotional and he got away. How did you process that moment when he's looking at that iPad and he's kind of giving a message and he needed a break?
I didn't see it.
You didn't watch The Last Dance?
I didn't see that part of it.
So you didn't watch all the 10 episodes?
No.
After what episode did you stop watching it?
Probably, I don't know, probably 6, 7.
The Kukoc episode?
Yeah, something like that.
You saw that episode. Was that the one where you're like, you know what? Screw this, I'm done.
Yeah, I didn't want to see it. My kids got turned off on it, so it's kind of turned me off. So I didn't have any interest to watch it anymore.
Yeah. Well, very interesting. Very interesting. But to me, sometimes it's when a guy that comes in and is the lead dog and got a lot of the thorns that came his way, it's very hard to be a Michael. And I think it's also very hard for anybody to understand Michael. Anybody to understand Michael. I think there's only a few guys that can probably expound on that to understand the level of, craziness to compete and the drive. And it's not I don't know how many people you can put in that to compare it to. Maybe a Brady and a couple other guys that, that's so interesting. I just learned a lot, Scotty.
Oh, yeah. Well, I will say Michael, he was built different. Competitive 24/7. Not too many people are built like that.
I agree.
Willing to compete at any level and at anything. So when you look at these players in today's era, being LeBron, there's really no comparison when you talk about the level of competitiveness. Michael bunched up all of his competitiveness and sort of exposed it out to the world within 12 to 14 years. We saw his whole resume, his competitiveness, his drive, his will to win, what he's want to do. When someone like LeBron has to spread that out for 20 plus years, it's not the same drive. It's not the same fight. It's not the same hunger. And so when people try to make those comparisons of those two players, it's like talking to someone in the front seat and the back seat. They ain't even in the same lane.
Did you see today? By the way, what a freaking point you just made. Condensing time frames. I don't know if you saw the stat today. Who posted it that said, yes, LeBron may have passed Michael in the most 30-point games. It'll take another 32 years to pass Michael in 40-point games, right?
Yeah. It's like, it's not even worth talking about.
The two of them.
When you ask who's better, LeBron or Michael, you can't ask me who's the GOAT between LeBron and Michael. Neither one of them are GOATs. They both won differently. You can't put them at the top of the pinnacle. Magic Johnson, to me, is a bigger GOAT than anybody because of how he led, how he brought a whole team, how when the greatest scorer in the game, Kareem, was not there, and him as a rookie
center
steps in and plays a position that no one even knew he could play. That's transcending what you can do as a player.
Yeah, that's why when you ask the question, how do you define it for GOAT, your definition is very different. To me, the definition of comparing a LeBron versus a Michael, LeBron had a Wade, LeBron had a Bosh, LeBron had a Kyrie, LeBron had a Anthony Davis, and Michael had you.
It's a different game, too.
It's a different game, too. I think for me,
LeBron got lanes every night. When we played, there were no lanes. Wasn't nothing but hardwood floor. If you go to the basket, you're going to hit the wood. There's no comparison. There's the basketball in the late 80s into the early 90s, physical, hard-nosed, no layups, earn it from the free throw line. Today's game, it's about three-point shooting. It's about driving it to the basket, finishing. Did you hear me say earn it at the free throw line? That doesn't even exist in today's game. It's just about shooting the ball.